Some of my most difficult clients to coach are ones that have lost hope. And you might have this within yourself. You might know people like this, that they don't feel like anything that they do will make a difference or will create a change. And human beings are energy conservers. We will not expend energy if we do not feel like it will lead to beneficial results, which makes sense. And I'd say I'm a life coach. I've been doing it for 11 years full time. If you're interested, it's very affordable. Just send me an email. It's in the description. The consultation's free in the first session. You get $20 off, and then it's extremely affordable after that. I have about, I'd say 10% of my clients that fall into that category where they just don't want to put effort, energy into their lives, and they are stagnant. And what happens is they've lost hope that doing anything will change anything. They feel like, hey, this is how I've been for X amount of years of my life. I've tried doing different things in the past. It's never worked. Or if they want more friends or they want a romantic partner, they feel unlovable and they feel like no one is going to want to be with them, or they feel like they have too many flaws, or they feel like their physical appearance isn't right, or their personality, and they just get hopeless. And when you get hopeless, a telltale sign of someone who's in this state is negativity. They're very pessimistic, they're very negative, and they don't see any advantage of being positive, because every time they're positive, every time they're optimistic, every time they get their hopes up, they get disappointed. And it's much easier to keep your expectations way low and not get disappointed than have your expectations set in the middle or set high and then get disappointed. And if you've ever encountered, or if you struggle with this, you know how difficult it is. And I have a lot of empathy for these clients. At the same time, we have to challenge their thinking, because their mindset is on a crash course to negativity, to unhappiness, to frustration, to anxiety, and it just is a dead-end road. And what we want to look for is just small victories. That's all we want, is to have small victories. Now, you might ask yourself, why would anyone want to have such a negative, pessimistic, cynical mindset? Well, believe it or not, there's a lot of benefits to it. When we complain and are very cynical or pessimistic or judgmental, that's another thing. These personality types are very judgmental, and they will find fault with other people. They'll find fault with coworkers. They'll find fault with their companies they work for. They'll find fault with family members. They'll find fault with their partners. They'll find fault, with the political system, just everything. Everything is filtered through the glasses of pessimism and negativity. Man, this is really tough to deal with. And I'd say probably about 10% of my clients fall under this category. And one of the things that they will do is just vent and vent and vent. Now, venting, the research I read on it, it actually makes you feel worse. It could have a temporary sense of relief, like you get it out and you feel temporary better, but it does make you feel worse. Unless it's like, I have this problem, I'm going to vent about the problem, and then let's come up with a solution. But the cynical personality type doesn't want a solution, because they benefit from the negative mindset. Oh, and another thing with the negative mindset that is a benefit is victimhood. They will often portray themselves as a victim of genetics, victim of family upbringing, victim of their anxiety, victim of society. A lot of victimhood. You'll see this present, not necessarily in all cases, but that will be a very dominant trait. And you can't talk rationally to these personality types, because this negativity is their defense mechanism. It's like their security blanket. And if you try to use rational thought and reason with them, you're like trying to tug away what makes them feel safe. And you ask, how does it make them feel safe? How does it make them feel good? It makes them feel good because judging other people makes us temporarily feel better than them. And you'll notice it in yourself, you notice it in other people. It's like that self-righteous, it builds up your ego, and it releases serotonin. And serotonin is when we feel more dominant over others. And we all live in groups, in small little tribes, whether it's your work tribe, your family tribe, your social network, your friends. And we want to feel we have a ranking in that tribe. And people who are very judgmental or critical feel like that judgment really helps to improve the ranking. It's oftentimes not even a conscious thing, but that's why you see on social media, in the news, negative. The Democrats did this, the Republicans did that, and it's a lot of negativity because it makes people feel self-righteous and feel good, that, oh, we're not like those other people are wrong and we are right. So that's the first thing that gets rewarded in negativity. The other thing is it lowers expectation of other people. So other people, they don't want to, the negative personality type doesn't like the feeling of rejection. Obviously nobody doesn't like the feeling of disappointing other people, whether it's their family or their friends or their coworkers. So they use negativity and that victim mindset, like, oh, I can't do this because of that. It's excuses. They'll use a lot of excuses. They'll use a lot of rationalizations on why they're not successful, on why they don't have a better job, on why they don't have more money, on why they don't have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And that victimhood helps other people. It kind of like is an expectation eraser. It says, you know what, don't expect much from me because I suffer from all of these circumstances that have kept me down and prevented me from succeeding. The next thing is that it gets, that is tough. That is another real tough thing. So you're up against a lot of barriers into changing that negative mindset. The next thing that makes them feel good is to belong to a group or a tribe. And again, you see this in politics, you see this in religion, you see this in people who have certain dietary habits or beliefs. You see this even with something like, people who are iPhone users versus Android users. It's like part of the tribe. Hey, let's bash and talk badly about the other side, and we will unite amongst ourselves under the umbrella of them, the other side, as the enemy, and that we're right and they're wrong. And it can be a way to bond with other people. Now, it's a negative way to bond with other people, but nevertheless, it works. And again, you see this very dominant in social media, in politics today, people bonding by labeling other people as an enemy, and they want to fight the system, or they want to change. And I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I'm just saying that there's a lot of negative emotion that goes into this, and it makes you feel worse. It really does. It's not If you notice someone that's very vehemently against something and very righteous about it and very adamant about it, and I'm right and they are wrong, generally you're not going to find them very content, peaceful, and happy. And so that's another thing that makes them feel good. And then the last thing that really makes people feel good, that these negative personality types, is when the negativity allows them to predict when things can go wrong. So if they can anticipate when things go wrong, your brain will release dopamine, and you'll have this feel-good feeling that, hey, I was able to prevent failure. I was able to prevent rejection. I was able to prevent judgment. I was able to prevent embarrassment or loss. And so that heavy negative bent is a way to, they feel, the negative personality type, a way to protect themselves. And they don't want to let that go, because then they feel that they will be vulnerable. So when you, and on the other thing goes along with the victimhood is it gets pity, it gets empathy. They can use it to manipulate and influence other people and get that, oh, woe is you, or I feel so bad for you, oh, your life is so tough. So it could be a form of way to garner empathy and pity and attention. So when you're talking to these personality types, or you're dealing with it yourself, it is super challenging. It really, really is challenging. And the first place to start is not like, hey, why don't you be more positive? Why don't you start a gratitude journal? Why don't you look at the optimistic things? Why don't you try things and try creating an online dating profile and see if you succeed? Why don't you try applying for the job? It'll be beneficial to you. Hey, you might find someone, you might get the right job. Like, this type of talk is really difficult and doesn't usually work. It depends how inured someone is in this negative mindset. And what I do in coaching is, let's examine your value system. And we start there. We examine the value system and some of the beliefs that they have, and that will show them that, hey, you are getting the results that you want based on your value system. And this type of mindset, this negative mindset, creates a lot of anxiety, creates a lot of low moods, not feeling good about life, not feeling good about self, low self-worth. And another thing that you'll notice with negative personality types is they are more addictive prone. And because it's really painful to have this energy and to have this mindset on an ongoing basis. So they use addictions and things to get that immediate short-term pleasure in order to feel better about themselves. Not even better about themselves, but more so to numb the pain. They've got to numb that pain. And some of the things that they will do to numb the pain are, internet is the biggest one. Phone use is a big one. I've talked about in previous videos, it's all types of addiction. Food, sugar, chocolate, what are some of the other things? Shopping, Amazon shopping, or just shopping in general. Porn is another one, a big one. Anything to escape, drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, anything to escape the mood. They want to change that mood, and it's not really changing it, it's numbing out the pain. And when in coaching, when I try to get these clients, especially early on in coaching, when I try to get the clients on a rational level, hey, look at all the positives of you'll get out of your life by taking more rest, being more optimistic, being more positive, it really generally doesn't work. And so as I was saying earlier, it's question what their beliefs are and what their values are. So a lot of their values are to stay safe and to stay comfortable, because putting yourself outside of that comfort zone is really scary to them. It's really scary, and it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of courage. And remember, there's hopelessness. So they feel like even if they put themselves outside of that comfort zone and do something that might have a positive reward, they're not going to succeed at it. So they don't put effort into it. So I'll get them to do in coaching is to write out their value system. And a lot of their value system is to stay comfortable, to stay safe, to stay numbed out, to not have to deal with these emotions and these feelings, to have other people not put pressure or expectations on them, to have that feeling of superiority. It's like a false feeling of superiority through judgment or through criticism against society. Well, society lives the wrong way and they don't know what they're doing, and people are XYZ, that judgment. So you're taking it's like trying to take like I said, like a security blanket away from a child. They don't want to let it go. And it takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of empathy, and for the negative personality type, it takes a serious commitment to want to change, because all their neural pathways have been defaulted towards negativity, towards pessimism, and it often starts at a very young age. At a very young age, oftentimes they didn't fit in, they were bullied, they were teased, or they grew up in a very dysfunctional family, or they were praised and had really high expectations by people telling them, oh, you're so smart, you're going to become something so successful, and there was too much pressure. There's a lot of variables that go into it, but if someone is committed and we start dismantling some of their belief systems and reevaluating and changing their value system, like, hey, my value system is not to be comfortable. My value system is to gradually stretch my comfort zone. My value system is not to ensure that I'm going to succeed when I ask somebody out, or I go on a date, or put my profile on an online dating site. My value system is to get more experience and more tolerance to being rejected, more tolerance to failure. My value system is not to numb my pain. My value system is to talk to somebody about the pain that I'm experiencing and gradually release it, instead of just self-medicating and the pain never goes away. It only deepens, and not wanting that temporary relief. It's really an interesting phenomenon, but there is hope. And when you start infusing clients with a little bit of hope, and when you start infusing that hope within yourself, and you change how you measure success. Because if you only measure success, hey, I'm going to approach this guy or this woman and ask her for her phone number, and that's the success, instead of if she says or he says yes to go out on a date or to give me their phone number, if you measure that as success, you're not going to, these personality types are not going to do it, because that is too scary, and they're not able to deal with the rejection, because it is a reaffirmation of the low self-worth. And so this video is to say that it takes patience, it takes time, but it is possible. And I've seen it in coaching clients, the gradual transformation from a negative personality mindset that is very insular and protective and kind of lives in their own little world, in their isolated bubble, to slowly getting outside of their comfort zone and developing relationships, developing career success, developing more positive attitude, developing more positive energy. And this is not something that's phony. It's not like when I talk to some of my negative clients or pessimistic clients, they'll say, oh, I don't want to act happy when I don't feel it. I just don't, what's the point of that? It feels artificial. And that's not what we're talking about. It's really seeing that the short-term gain you get out of this they get out of this negative mindset and this pessimism comes at tremendous long-term pain and long-term suffering, and it's not worth it. And when you start there, the house of cards starts to crumble and they can see a light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Coaching is for everybody. Life coaching is really transformational. Even if you feel like, oh, I have nothing to work on, we always want to be growing. We always want to be evolving. And coaching is such a unique experience, different from talking to a friend, a family member, reading a self-help book, and especially someone that is experienced. I've been doing it 11 years. This is my full-time career, and it's what I devote my life to. And so if you're interested, please feel free to email me. If you would like to support the channel, there's a PayPal link in the description. I try not to put ads on my videos, but occasionally I will just because of the YouTube algorithms. But your support is greatly appreciated. Comments, likes, and subscriptions. If you enjoyed these types of videos, please do so if you want. And I read all your comments. And thanks for tuning in. And I look forward to the next video. Bye-bye.